Very welcome back to the stage here in the Agriland tent. I'm delighted to be joined by the President of the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association, the ICSA, Sean McNamara, and also by Katie Cooney, who's a young farmer from County Cavan. Sean, how are you enjoying the ploughing? You look tired. Has it been a long 3 days?
Yeah, it has been a long 3 days, but a good 3 days. There's great activity in our tent for the last 3 days, like a lot of people in and out. We had a lot of good discussions, like over generation renewal and different things, life focus and different things. It went very well. I think it was the best ploughing we've had in years, I'd say, in the land that with people coming in and out and interested. I think farmers are a little better humoured than they were in the last couple of years. Things are looking up and farmers are just in better form, and it means an awful lot. Like, a few years ago, you come along and you see farmers, prices are bad, things are going bad, and farmers are in bad humour and didn't care whether to talk to you now or not, but now they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And was there a hive of activity in the ICSA tent over the last couple of days? A lot of people coming in and out. A lot of cups of tea drank, I'd say.
A lot of cups of tea and a lot of sandwiches then. Like I said, we've toasted sandwiches for anyone that comes in. So ask you to just look for a toasted sandwich, we're having for you.
You'll be inundated. But that's, I think that's the part of it, you know, it's the social aspect to the ploughing. I think that's very important. There's a lot of business done here. There's a lot of, you know, innovation. There's a lot of free pens for young people. There's a lot of different attractions. But I think for farmers, and farming can be a tough occupation, Sean. It can be a lonesome occupation, and particularly for the sectors that the ICSA was established to represent. Oftentimes, they're working on their own all the time. So coming to something like this or going to the local market, it's a crucial outlet.
Yeah, it is crucial. And just when you're talking about the ploughing, what I see here at the ploughing is a lot of older men like myself or getting my age group. But I think to look at the ploughing today or any day, the big thing is what I do see is missing is from the 20 to 40 age group. They're all working and they're not there at the ploughing. And that's what I've seen this year now mostly. The big thing is farmers, I do say, is to socialise, go to marts, talk to one another, talk about their problems. Doesn't matter how small or how big, there's always someone to listen to you. And a lot of farmers don't do that out there. They go into themselves and they won't go anywhere, and it's a bad job. You go to your local mart, put in an hour, go around chat, fellas, it makes an awful difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you mentioned generational renewal, and here at the Agriland stand for the last couple of days, we've been talking about the future of farming, and Katie will talk to you in just a second about this. But this week we saw the Minister for Agriculture launching the Commission on Generational Renewal's report containing some 31 recommendations, Sean. And we were waiting for this report. It got a little bit delayed, but we've eventually got it. What's your impression of that report and what's in it? Because generational renewal, there's no quick fix to this, and it's multifaceted, and in some cases it can be very individual to particular farms.
Yeah. The big thing in that report is the Minister for Agriculture did not have enough meetings with farmers on the ground to find out what they wanted. That's our farm organisations on the ground to find out what they wanted.
Well, I must say, he didn't write the report now. It was the Commission on Generational Renewal.
I know that, but
yeah.
They didn't meet, whoever it was, didn't meet farmers. I'm happy enough with some of it. I'm not happy with other parts of it. Like the way I look at it, the problem is with us in Ireland, we're gone for schemes. Everything is schemes, and schemes, and schemes, and schemes. And as you all know, with schemes, there's penalties. Now, the way I look to see generation renewal or anything like that, I'd like the incentives put in there for farmers, for the older farmer, for the younger farmer coming in, incentives. And if they do, they get paid. And if they don't get paid. But like, we're going to a society now that everything has to be a scheme. And you have everyone expected, you have everyone paid. And what the big problem with the schemes is too, that you're coming along and it's cost a serious amount of money in administration. A lot of the money in the scheme is going towards administration. The farmers only get a minuscule what the farmers are getting. And it'll be the same with this if we don't do it right. We have to do it right. We have to get some sort of a retirement package for the older farmer or the older farmer myself. And we also have to get a package for the younger farmer to come in. We can't expect farmers, like I have...
Well, there are payments in that plan, you know, in this generational renewal plan. There are payments that are outlined for both younger and older farmers, but you don't feel it goes far enough?
I don't feel it goes near far. I see 25,000 there for an older farmer. So that would buy a good second-hand car. You know what I mean? If you wanted to buy a car. I don't think there is... the big thing with young farmers...
Well, what figure would you put on it, Sean? What figure would you put on it?
I'd be inclined to double that figure.
So you think 50,000?
Yeah, I'm seeing like he's talking about it's going to cost 1 billion, right? And 1 billion in this world, today's world isn't a lot. Like we see the government spending 6 billion on the iPass centres. I'm not against it, but that's what they're spending. And they're talking about throwing 1 billion, our best industry in the country, which is producing high quality food and everything, and put just 1 billion into it. If we don't take this serious at this stage, we've lost a generation of farmers at the moment, and we're going to lose another generation. Like I said at home, my place, I have 2 lads involved in farming with me. My daughter, we've 3 different enterprises. I have 2 lads involved, and one lad is exporting cattle, the other lad is home on the farm with me. We have a daughter who's growing her own greenhouse, all the food for the house in the greenhouse, the whole lot. And like that, she was selling duck eggs just to make a few pounds. Now she's working a job to sell duck eggs. And what happened to the ducks? A pine marten came in and killed all the ducks. So that finished her.
Well, as somebody with ducks at home as well, it is so you're keenly aware of what's going on for the next generation, you know, Sean, it's what you're trying to say. And Katie Cooney, I'm going to bring you in here as well, because we've been delighted this week when we're speaking to the farm organisations of having young farmers joining us on all of these panels as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the farm in Cavan?
So we have a suckler farm at home. So it's myself, my father, my mother. I have a brother in Australia, and I have one sister, and she is a graphic designer. So I kind of took an interest. We have a small suckler farm, so we have a few suckler cows, and then I got into a few sheep myself. And then I kind of took a bit of an interest, and I went to done my Green Cert in Ballyhaise in Cavan. And then I'm in my last year in Dundalk College doing a degree in ag. So kind of continue my interest in an area that I always had interest when we were younger, whether you stood in the gap or whether you done something or you were roared or shouted at. It was a bit of crack, I thought anyway, so I went ahead with it, and I thought that maybe it was the best way forward for me, because I had looked at my dad, like he's always worked off farm. So I said, well, if he's working off farm and he's been farming for so long, it's obviously not viable. So I said, I'm going to get myself I'm going to have another job and farm part-time, because it's just the only option really now.
Yeah, and you want to keep farming even on the part-time basis, or but it's not easy, Katie, because if you're working a 9 to 5, say, and a lot of farmers do, say, if they have suckler animals or if they have sheep, and that can be quite exhausting at the same time.
It's quite exhausting, but at home, like as I was saying earlier, like it's a thing of a calf being born, like let's say in spring, or the lambs. Like the lambs is my best example. If you have lambs and they're born in the shed, and the day that you let them lambs out of the shed and see them playing around the field, and then when you go on and follow the cycle on to bring in lambs to your mart, your factory, stuff like that, and you see then the end product of that, whether it's money, whether it's what, but it's a labour of love. It's doing it and you enjoy doing it, and that's what I find, like, you can't put a price on something that you enjoy and something that makes you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what do you see as the barriers? You're a young farmer, and I don't, I'm not sure if you've read that report that the Commission has put forward, but in a practical sense, what do you see as the barriers for young farmers and friends of yours who want to get into farming and stay in farming and keep the home farm going?
Well, I know, like, if you look at suckler enterprise, yes, it's great this year, but even if you look at beef, like the price in the last few years, it's not enticing for a young person. And the likes of maybe dairy, where you have a steady income and you have a guaranteed income that you're going to have a paycheck every week or every month for your milk, like people need security nowadays because everything in the world, like no matter what you go to buy, like food, land, everything has got so expensive. And you need that security. You need to know that you're going to be making money from it.
And I think what's lost in, everybody's talking about cost of living, Sean, and I'd say you'll say the same, and people are saying, oh, farmers are getting huge prices for cattle. But at the same time, farmers have to go out and buy food as well, so they're getting, they're getting finally paid, but they do have to pay the high prices as well in the supermarkets.
But when you look at it in another way, farming has gone through so many bad years, and people are judging maybe, a 10, 15-year cycle of bad years on one good year. And you can't judge anything on that. Like next year, the price of maybe tech companies could go up, but some tech companies might have had 20 bad years to have one good year.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's how some businesses are judged.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. I just want to touch on a couple of topics with you, Sean. Very topical issues. The nitrates derogation, I suppose, being the most to the fore this week because we saw those results coming out from the EPA. They didn't make for great reading across those 20 areas, and that's a cause for concern as we look to get that renewal of the nitrates derogation beyond the end of this year.
That is true. Nitrates derogation is serious at the moment. If it goes ahead, you could be talking about 170 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare. It's going to be a big job to get it stopped or to get it right. But then, in our walk of life, in our job, we're saying sucklers and sheep, not as many people, it's not affecting many people in nitrates derogation.
Absolutely, but it is an important thing for the industry as a whole.
It is, but that's
farming as a whole.
Yeah, that's what the trouble is. If it doesn't affect us, I'm not taking the party, but it doesn't affect us along with dairy, and it'd be the big thing that we'll have to do something for this nitrates derogation, which is looking like we'll have to do something on our lands, the same as the boys is in nitrates derogation. That's the big problem,
So you feel that we could retain it, but what will be the knock-on impact for sectors outside of dairy?
Yeah, I would say we were retaining probably the 7,000 farmers or 8,000 farmers in nitrates derogation. So we're going to contain it for them 7,000 or 8,000. But what's the other 102,000 going to do then? Are we going to pay for these 7,000 or 8,000? That's the big thing. That's the big question I'd be asking.
Yeah, absolutely. TB, it's also a big issue. I mean, obviously, maybe more towards the dairy side of the house as well. But, we have a strategy. What's your thoughts on how we're approaching this at the moment? It's a huge issue, and it's going to cost a lot of money. You were talking about money for generational renewal and turning the tide on TB. That's going to cost a lot of money.
It's going to cost serious money. TB is a serious, it doesn't matter what sort of farming you are, TB is a serious issue. It causes serious cash flows at farms where men goes down with TB locked up. You can sell the cattle now through the different markets, but even though you're locked up, at the same time, it causes serious stress in families, serious mental well-being in families. It's all right, you're locked up with maybe 70 or 80 cows and no father and no everything. It's at the moment it's a serious situation, TB. But and
it lasts for years.
It doesn't go in a minute.
I've spoken to farmers who've been depopulated. I'm sure you have as well.
I have been.
And for years later, I've spoken to farmers who will break into tears remembering loading up the cattle that day and the silence in the yard, and it is devastating. Yeah,
in 2002, I was depopulated. It took me 15 years to get my herd built back up again. There wasn't the same compensation in them days. So it took me 15 years to get back up my herd to where I was going. I had to go into sheep, I had to go into everything. I had no money, I had to go into sheep. I had bank loans to dump the neighbour land and everything. So I had to go into sheep. But there's one thing I keep saying all along, and I'm strong on it, that we should bring out a vaccine for cattle. After all, when we got COVID, they had a vaccine within 6 months. Where since 1954 we're at this TB, and every year it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, but they are working on trials, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, but how long is these trials taking? It's all right talk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We started off with TB in 1954. We're doing trials. Every time you listen to it, we're doing trials. It's going on this last 40 years trials. We still have got no further on. The guy says when COVID came in, within a few months they had the vaccine. So what's the difference in TB? Can we not get vaccine? What is wrong that they can't get vaccine for TB? That's what we're looking at.
Let's jump to, I suppose, matters European and something that will be keenly felt by your sector when it comes to Mercosur and like the possibility of 99,000 tonnes of beef coming from the Mercosur bloc at a 7.5% tariff rate under this trade agreement. I suppose, given what's happening over in France at the moment, it could be detrimental to our case, you know, at a European level, and getting support for our concerns at the European table as well, because there's a lot of different factors at play when it comes to Mercosur, and beef is just one, Sean.
Yeah, the big thing with Mercosur is where France is going now, like you says, it could turn the table. France is totally against it. But we're not stuck with it just yet now. I was on Kieran Maloney this morning. He reckons if we can get 30 MEPs out of Italy, which he reckons we can, and the Irish government, which are getting hard. The biggest problem with our government is we're getting hard to get the MEPs to sit down and say we're going to vote this, we're going to vote that way. They won't tell us. All I hear is everyone will say we won't have it in its present form. Now, we can all talk away. There's a 10% in if our price goes down below a certain level.
So these are the safeguards, Sean, that the EU has brought forward to maybe allay our fears. And are you convinced?
No, because that 10% that they're talking about, that's probably a world market price, right? So we're getting $7.50 now a month for beef. You take world market price is $4.50. So we have to come back as a country to €4 in order to get this 10%. So that ain't going to happen. So they know they're safe there. Like another thing, what will happen is if Mercosur comes in, it's going to flood Europe with beef and chicken. Like it's not alone beef. Between chicken and beef and all, we reckon by 2030 it will be 550,000 tonnes coming in. Between chicken, the whole lot, beef, the whole lot. So you're talking
Katie, you're nodding there. Are you concerned about Mercosur?
It is. Like, it's a really big issue for the next generation coming on. Like, it's something that you're going to have to worry about, like competing and stuff like that. And like, we are self-sufficient in like the likes of chicken. I know beef like mightn't be too much, but like chicken, we're so self-sufficient and stuff like that. Like, it's okay for that. But if this comes in, like, younger people have to worry about it more so, because we might be farming longer and trying to get into farming more than the older kind of generation.
Yeah, and as you say, Katie, it's about confidence, because there's plenty of choices for young people now. We're practically full employment in this country, and people, the world is at their feet. You know, there's lots of different choices for people from farm families and from people in rural areas as well, and people from urban areas who do go into farming as well. We have to remember that. There's plenty of people I've met along the way who never grew up on a farm but want to go farming. So, you know, something like the Mercosur trade deal, it's in the background there as well about confidence and your longer term plans.
Well, if like you're trying to plan your next whatever 5-year, 10-year moves, like, and something like this is hanging over you, you want security in your future. Like, if you're thinking, okay, right, in the next 10 years I'm going to have a family. Well, I want my family to grow up farming. Well, if you're not sure yourself where you're going in the next 10 years, well, how can you be sure for your future generations and for yourself on what is going to happen? And it just needs clarity on the situation for the people coming up and coming into the sector, that they can feel a sense of security. Like, I think that's also leading to a lot of people immigrating, and we're losing a lot of our future generations. And then we're going to have to rely on the rest of the world population to come in. Like, we've seen it in the health sector. We're relying on other countries to come in and try and help us. Like,
for those labour shortages, yeah.
For labour shortage, because all of our, I know from side me, my brother's in Australia, and I think there's 10 houses up our road. There's a child from each house in Australia, and they all live together over there. But that's so many young people from our area had to immigrate, and so many people that could be farming, but they have no security and no clarity on what is happening.
It's like one community of young people being transported over to the other side of the world from Ireland, and settling up there.
Maybe people going over there to work on farms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a better, you're getting better pay, maybe better treatment, stuff like that over there, because you know what stands, because they don't have the worry of this coming and looming in the background.
Sean, the budget is coming up. I'm sure that you have a wish list. It's like a letter to Santa, a letter to Martin Hayden. What have you asked for?
The big wish was, well, generation renewal was the biggest wish we've wanted for the young people. Actually, we asked for several different things, cuts and VAT and so on, but generation renewal was the big thing because, like we see with farming, unless we can get generation renewal up and running right away, I don't mean 2 years' time, see, right away. We're going to lose another generation of farmers, and we don't want to see that. We're also looking that there will be a viable living for all farmers. This thing of talking about, like Katie says it there, for the last 10 years, farmers weren't viable. Farms were not viable for anyone. And that left the young people, they left off the farms because there's no viable living to be there. They went for a mortgage, you couldn't get, or farming. You're farming full time, no way. It's a job, you got your mortgage. We look for, another thing we're looking for is building a one-off houses for farmers' sons and daughters, and able to get planning permission. We're looking for that.
Planning is a big issue, isn't it, in rural areas, and securing planning on the family sites and on the family farm as well.
Yeah, but we put in for several things. Like, you could talk all day on what we put in for, but that is two of the main points we wanted. We wanted to see that with the young people coming back to farming, or I don't mean coming back, but if they wish to come back to farming, that they come back and that there would be a viable living there for them. The thing on nature restoration and all that, we want to see a fund coming in for that. I had a meeting in Kildare there only 2 weeks ago, and we learned the Netherlands MEPs was over, one of them, and the Netherlands embassy was over, they want us over it. And then in the Netherlands, we were talking, they want to re-wet our lands, right? That's fair enough. But in the Netherlands, they paid 1,400 an hectare for re-wetting to a certain depth, and from the other depth down, they paid 700 euros a hectare. So the way they looked at that, it was that they could farm away as well. The way they looked at it was a salary for farmers. That's the way they looked at it. It wasn't a scheme, it wasn't out, it was a salary. So the main thing we looked for in the budget was that if we wanted to see incentives coming in, these schemes needs to go, like I said, incentives coming in is the main thing we want to see for both young farmers, older farmers, retired, so on. We want to see some sort of incentive scheme coming in, because like I says, the schemes that's there at the moment isn't working. We look for more for the subsidy for cows, for certain age of bullocks as you bought them on, so 9 months, 18 months, that there be a scheme there for them, and that's.
And I suppose when we talk about money as well and talk about schemes, I suppose the home of all of our schemes is CAP. And, you know, we're looking beyond 2027. I mean, the current CAP it's nearly old news now, because we're all looking to the future. The negotiations, the horse trading, the cattle trading around the table in Brussels, it's ongoing, Sean. And there's a lot of pulling and dragging at the overall EU budget. And, you know, like Christoph Hansen, the EU Commissioner for Agriculture, he seems to be tuned in to what farmers are looking for, but he's an uphill battle as well, you know, getting his kind of portion of the pie, for want of a better word. And how do you see it panning out over the coming months? You know, they have promised, you're talking about red tape there and simplifying, you know, schemes and everything like that. Yeah. Have you confidence in all of what you're hearing from Brussels at the moment?
All I can say is the cap, like they're talking about being cut 25% or 15% or 25%, but we were making it out it's 30% cut that we're going to have. It's not 25, it's a 30% come. Yeah. Mr. Hansen, as we call him, or Commissioner Hansen, I was talking to him. Certain ways I believe in some of the things he does, certain ways I don't, but everyone won't agree with everything you say, but like we're talking about 30% less, but it's not alone that 30% less. Since it came in first, with inflation and everything, it's down 65-70%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not, so like there's very little there to give out. Like they're talking about our government, like you talk to them, and the way he looks at it, he wants to see the most we give to generation renewal, and he wants to see give to suckler farmers and sheep farmers, and what he calls it full-time farm. But another thing I disagree with him, he wants that farmers over 65 years of age throw themselves under the boat and forget about them. That can't be done, because most of our, like we're starting, our average age of farmers in this country is around 60 years of age at the moment. We can't throw them under a bus at 65 years of age, tell them there's no money.
Well, if Commissioner Hansen was here, we wish he was, of course, coming to the ploughing, but I'm sure he'd argue maybe otherwise with the phrase of being thrown under a bus. But look, we'll be covering, obviously, the CAP negotiations here on Agriland over the coming months ahead, because definitely it's where we need to be looking to is beyond 2027 at this stage. Sean McNamara, the ICSA president, thank you so much for joining us. And Katie Cooney, a young farmer from County Cavan. Definitely, I think, Sean, you'll agree with me, the future is bright if we've people like Katie
yes,
in
Katie,
the
very
sector.
good.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to say to everyone here, ICSA is having a Mercosur protest on November the 13th outside the door in Dublin. We'd like you all to come support us on the day. We started the protest at Mercosur and we intend to finish it the same way. Now there's a petition up the way there in our, whether you go or not, in our
in the stand here.
In the stand, there's a petition. And we'd like every farmer to sign it. We're going to sit down to the mask and sign as well, that we can hand it in to our MEPs, our Minister for Agriculture and all. So lads, I'd ask you for your support on November the 13th about in Dublin. Thanks very much. And thanks, Ashley, for having us on here.
No problem, and no doubt there's great toasted sandwiches, we've been told as well, at the ICSA
yes.
tent. So if you're tuned in online, you might want to go down there for a toasted ham and cheese before you go from Screggan. We're going to go back out onto site to see what else is happening outside of toasted sandwiches right now.